Hi there booktube, it's Eleanor here and it's time for my April TBR. This month pulled out of the shelf slam jar was books with one-word titles, and Brittany from Under the Radar Books pulled that out. If you don't know about shelf slam by now, myself, Janet from Swirly Girly Reads and Brittany from Under the Radar Books are doing a thing called shelf slam, which we've titled shelf slam. Basically to try and get rid of some of the books off of our shelves because we've been buying loads and then not reading the ones we have. So we set ourselves 12 sort of little challenges to pull out the jar each month, and we try to read 12 books minimum in the month, and we try and read the books that the challenges sort of help us to give us a TBR, but it doesn't matter if those 12 books aren't specifically fitting that challenge, although we do try to. And as long as we read 12 books in the month, then the other two people in the group buy you a book off your wish list. So if Janet reads 12 books in the month, I buy her one, and so does Brittany, and so on. And so it just means that we're getting a nice little bookish treat at the end of every month, but we are clearing off our shelves. So anyway, the challenge that's been picked this month, as I said, is books with one-word titles. So my main challenge for this month is that I would like to read Middlemarch by George Eliot. I have had this book on my shelf for a long time and I really want to read it. It's quite intimidating because it is nearly 1,000 pages long. So what I've decided to do is, it fits in with the one-word title, is I'm going to be reading a couple of chapters a day, and I should get through this in the month. So I'm going to spread it out over the whole month, and I'm really looking forward to this one. Now, the other books that I've got quite a few here, so I'm not going to be able to get into much about them, but I've picked books off my diversity bingo challenge because I've got quite a few there actually with one-word titles, so it would be good to read some of those. I've got books that are review books that I've had for a while that I would like to get read, and then I've also got some YA contemporary books which I think are quite nice light reads to read alongside Middlemarch and some of the heavier ones. So anyway, let's get into the diversity bingo picks. The first one off my diversity bingo list is Pantomime by Laura Lamb. This is an ARC copy, and this is a story, I believe, about a intersex character who ends up running away and joining a circus, I think, and I think there's lots of diversity in here, and I'm really excited to read this one. I've also got Dumpling, which is by Julie Murphy, and this is about a young girl who is a bigger girl and decides that she's going to enter a beauty pageant and just show everyone that bigger girls can be just as beautiful and can enter these things, and I'm really excited. Next, I've got Blindness by Jose Saramago. I don't know much about this one, so I'm intrigued to try it out. It's not too long. It says no food, no water, no government, no hierarchy, no obligation, no order. This is not anarchy, this is blindness. I think it's about, like, everyone just starts to go blind, and it's the repercussions and what happens when that happens. Next up is Annabelle by Kathleen Winter, and this again, I think this is set in 1968 in Canada, and this is about a transgender teen. So I believe it is about Wayne, who grows up with a hyper-male hunting culture of his father, his shadow self, a girl he thinks of as Annabelle. So I think this one's meant to be quite moving, so I'm looking forward to getting to this one. Next, I have Aeon, Rise of the Dragon Eye by Alison Goodman. This is a YA fantasy with dragons. And finally, off that TBR, I have Point by Brandy Colbert, which is a book about ballet. Then for books that are review books that I would like to get to, I have Wishbones by Virginia McGregor. This is about a girl whose mother is the most obese woman in England, and it's about her researching her mother's history and trying to discover what it is that has led her mother to this disease and led her mother to become the way she has. She can't leave her house, and she's in a diabetic coma, so she's desperately trying to discover a way to help her mother. Next up is Max, and this is by Sarah Cohen Scarley. This is a book which is set in sort of Nazi Germany during World War II, and baby Max is like a perfect Nazi prototype from a eugenics program, so I'm intrigued by this one. Next I have Diabolic, which is by S.J. Kincaid. I have to say I don't know much about this one. The back says Star Wars meets the Hunger Games. It says on the top, a Diabolic has a single task: kill in order to protect the person you've been created for. I would be a Diabolic who forged a new future, not just for myself, but for all the real people too. And in that way, I would have the truest revenge of all. I would make my life mean something. So we shall see. Then I have Ink, which this cover is just really beautiful, and on the back, which is by Alice Broadway. And this is a book about where everything you do in your life gets inked onto your skin. And I think it's about a girl whose father dies, and then she discovers that he's not inked some things, or some things are extra on there she didn't realise. I'm not sure. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. And I want it to be good because the cover is so beautiful. And then now on to books which aren't on my review books. They're just books that I'd like to get to. YA generally, because I find that they're good to intersperse between other books. The first is Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. This is a YA fantasy story. I believe it's about witches given the title, so I look forward to trying this one out. Next I have Holding by Graham Norton, which I was very kindly gifted from Janet from Swirly Girly Reads, who's decided to treat me, and she loved this, said how brilliant it was, so I'm really looking forward to trying it out. From what she described, it's set in Ireland, it's about a number of characters, and there's sort of a murder mystery going on in there as well, so I'm excited to give this one a go. I've got another YA fantasy, and that is Passenger by Alexandra Bracken. I keep hearing great things about this, it keeps going on my TBR, I keep not getting to it, so I will try and get to it this month. I have a book called Hit, which is by Delilah Dawson. This is about a girl who ends up having to become an indentured assassin to pay off some debts that her family have. This just sounds really different and intriguing. Next I have a YA contemporary, Magnolia by Christy Cook. I think this is about a girl and boy. They're set up together by their families. They don't really like each other. I'm sure that's going to change over the course of the book, but I've heard good things. Next I have Fishnet by Kristen Innes, and this is a story about a 20-year-old, so it's not YA I don't think, who walks out of her sister Fiona's flat and disappears. 6 years on, worn down by a tedious job, childcare and the aching absence of her life, Fiona's mundane existence is blown apart by the revelation that before she disappeared, Rona had been working as a prostitute. And I've heard that this is really impactful, so I'm looking forward to trying this one out. Next I have another YA contemporary, which is Run by Cody Kepliker, who is the author of The Duff. I loved The Duff, and this one is about a girl who's got sort of an alcoholic mum. She's a bit of a deadbeat dad, and another girl who is her best friend, who's very good, does everything she's told, but she is blind, legally blind, and I believe one of them wants to run away and the other goes with them. Looking forward to seeing what I think. Next I have another book, Remix by Non Pratt. So from what I can gather, this is at a music festival. It's two best friends. One of them is upset because she was dumped by the love of her life. The other one's bored about hearing about it. It says 3 days, two best mates, one music festival, 0 chance of everything working out. Sounds like a fun read. Wildlife by Fiona Wood. This is about a group of children that are spending a semester in the wilderness, and about the things that they have to go through, and I'm sure it's going to be sort of a coming of age, maybe a bit of romance in there given the cover, so I'm looking forward to trying this one out. A book I should have read a long time ago that everyone and their mother seems to have read, and that is Winger by Andrew Smith. This is a story about a boy at an all-boys school, I think. It's got rugby and bullying. I don't know much more than that, but I know that everyone really loved it when they were reading it about a year or so ago. Just 2 more that are going on the list. Now don't worry, I probably won't get to all of these. I just like to have plenty to pick from. I've got Mosquito Land by David Arnold. This is about a girl, her parents are split up. She discovers that her mother is, her real mother is very ill, and so she decides to make this cross-country journey to go and see her, and I've heard great things. And then finally on my TBR is Joyride by Anna Banks. It's about two children, their paths cross. One is the son of the sheriff, I think, and he wants to act out. The other is a girl who is desperate to stay under the radar, and I believe maybe he tries to drag her into his shenanigans. I don't know, but I've heard good things. So lots of choices there for the month. I'm really excited. Have you read any of these? Which ones have you enjoyed? Any 5 stars in there for you? Let me know as always in the comments below, and that'll help me to sort of decide which one to pick up next. Anyway, I look forward to hearing what you are all reading in April, and thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.